thank you for inviting me here. It's a pleasure to be here. Good to see Rebecca again. One of the things that I was asked to do here today was actually talk a little bit about fiscal notes, a lot of the work that we've been doing over the last couple of years, where we're taking our company, and then hopefully a couple of lessons that we've learned along the way, in terms of our own startup journey, as well as a lot of the things that we've been thinking about over the next couple of years. And so, if you go to the next slide, fiscal note is a very simple story. I started this company actually straight out of college, undergraduate, and I was studying computer science and politics at the time, and we wanted to build a company at the intersection of technology and politics, really merging my two interests together. So before I actually started Fiscal Note, I spent a number of years in politics. At 16, I had the opportunity to work for President Obama in the White House, working on the campaign and working on the transition team for the Bush administration. And then a year later, I had this crazy idea to run for political office. So I got elected in Maryland and served there for 2 years in the Board of Education. And for a very long time, I thought that I was going to be a politician. After being in politics, I realized it's not a very fun job. And I wanted to try something else. And so we built our company to really accomplish this mission of connecting the world to their governments, and really thinking about all those different components. And so here you sort of see the backdrop against which we started our company. You have all these changing political movements. You have the rise of the Trump administration. You have CEOs getting dragged in front of Congress and in front of different national assemblies. And so we built Fiscal Note to essentially take all the laws, all the regulations, all the court cases, every part of the world, digitize them, and create a technology platform that millions and millions and millions of lawyers can actually use for themselves today. And so we actually wanted to position ourselves as the first technology company that digitized every law and every regulation that governs our world. So today we're in about 75 different countries. Just a little bit about our company here. We currently service about 5,200 organizations, companies, government agencies, clients today. We raised just over $250 million in venture capital from some pretty cool investors, Mark Cuban, Jerry Yang, and SoftBank, and all those other folks. And we have just over 500-600 employees here today, headquartered in Washington, D.C., and it's been a really interesting journey for us here for the last 5 or 6 years. So if you go to the next slide, you sort of see a couple of our products, Colossus. This is our typical product. You can search laws, regulations, court cases. If you go to the next slide, you can sort of look at different components in terms of analyzing political trends and understanding judges and how the judges rule in terms of court cases. If you go to the next slide, you can sort of see that we're collecting, as I mentioned, every law and every regulation in every country on the planet. So it's a little bit outdated. We're now in about 75 different countries, and hopefully in all 200 countries in the next 18 months or so. We also recently, with a couple of acquisitions, have diversified into the content space. So we are the largest newsroom in Washington, D.C., with about 200 journalists covering Capitol Hill, the White House, the Supreme Court, as well as all the political operations in Washington. So go to the next slide. Beyond this, so a lot of our customers who kind of use our products for monitoring laws, discovering risk, and all the sort of typical enterprise software capabilities. On the next slide, you'll see some of our customers. Pretty much, we have about 5,000 of these customers today. Big companies, small companies, law firms, government agencies, the U.S. military, the Korean Foreign Ministry, the Korean National Assembly, all of our customers. So we've been working very closely with corporate customers and government customers around the world to help them understand how laws and regulations impact their institutions. So a little bit of company history. We founded the company in 2013. Actually, this year, Plug and Play was actually our first office. So we actually started the company in this office about 6 years ago. And just really have been growing and scaling the company ever since. So we launched our product in January 2014. Continuously sort of raised subsequent capital. We expanded to our first international office, I think about 3 years of business, mostly in Australia, New Zealand, and a couple other markets. And just continuing to scale the organization ever since. So I believe at this point, in 2020, one of the big things that we're looking at today is actually beyond laws and regulations that have diversified the business into financial information, healthcare, real estate, energy, variety of verticals beyond just the legal and financial space. So our business this year will top just over 100 million in revenue. So our thinking, from my perspective as CEO, is how do we get all of revenue is $2 billion in revenue? And we're making a lot of different investments in terms of continuing to add new countries, continuing to build additional data sets, and obviously building a lot of the sort of applications that we've developed over the last couple of years. If you go to the next slide, one of the things that we're very excited about is actually our new up-and-coming developer platform. And so we're launching a developer platform. This is actually one of the first public forums where I'm talking about this, but in about 2 months we'll be launching for the first time Fiscal Notes version of Amazon Web Services. We actually have a fully integrated technology stack where we can actually build our own data and information applications using the infrastructure we developed. And so this is actually a new line of business that we're entering into over the course of the next couple of years. The next thing is sort of in the new space. So we actually, given the investments that we make in the news and content category, we're actually now starting to build a lot of different automated news capabilities. So I'll give you a good example of this if you go to the next slide. So very similar to the way in which you can take up your mobile device and see, based off of where you're living, where your location is. We actually, I can start to deliver personalized political information based off of where you live. So if you live in Las Vegas, for instance, it will tell you who your member of Congress is. A typical news article that you might read here, it might say, Congress passes a bill addressing China's threat of intellectual property. So a lot of the sort of personalized content and personalized information we're delivering is actually based off of the political information that we're collecting, the legal information that we're collecting. So we're actually partnering with hundreds of different news organizations, now delivering content straight to your phone that says, Congressman John Delaney, your congressman, the one that you voted for, was actually voting yes or no based off of that bill. And so you can actually start to hold politicians and lawmakers accountable to the votes that the democracy and democratic systems that you've been involved in. So it's been a really interesting ride as a company for the last couple of years. And one of the things I wanted to definitely talk a little bit about, beyond just our company and what we do, was kind of how we got here as a company, some of the lessons that we've learned along the way, and how that can be applicable to each of your organizations, whether you're an investor or a startup founder. So, as I mentioned, I started my company with 2 of my best friends. You have Gerald on the left and Jonathan on the right. So Gerald actually I met in middle school. We met in the 6th grade. And Jonathan I met in elementary school, 4th grade. And so we went to elementary, middle school, and high school together. We all went to different colleges, but we came back and we said, so in the middle of undergrad, that we wanted to start a company together. And so we were kind of kicking around a couple of ideas and the like. I actually remember being in my parents' basement, coming back from summer break, right before senior year in undergrad, and we were sort of trying to think about a couple different ideas that we felt like could actually be super interesting for us. And so a fiscal note actually was the idea that we landed on. And believe it or not, we were very, very poor at the time. We had a couple $1,000s that we bootstrapped, and so we moved out to Silicon Valley. So we were living here actually in Sunnyvale, just down the street. And I actually remember very vividly going on Craigslist, trying to find a month-to-month apartment in South Bay, which we didn't know because we were 21 years old. And so we couldn't find an apartment. So we actually ended up living out of this Motel 6 right on Matilda Avenue. We lived there for about 6 months. We lived in this tiny little room. And we're literally commuting from this Motel 6 to Plug and Play every single morning. We were working, literally 8 a.m. to 1 a.m., 7 days a week, trying to build our product, talk to customers, raise capital. And probably in the late summer, sort of right going into 2014, we decided that we wanted to raise capital. So I went off and we were watching Shark Tank on TV in our Hotel 6 room. And I remember thinking, oh man, it would be so cool if Mark Cuban invested. And so I went on Google and I searched Mark Cuban's email. I shot him a cold email and I said, Mark, I'm working on the startup. I really want you to pay attention, blah, blah, blah. 45 minutes later, he shoots an email back and he says, okay, I'm interested, I want to invest. And Mark Cuban actually ended up leading our first investment round as a startup. And so once we got our seed round funding, then we actually moved back the company to Washington, D.C. This is actually our first office, the slide before. So this is our first office, the entire office, right up to maybe about 30 people. And it was so cold in this office. They were so cheap that they didn't have heating. So in the dead of winter, we'd be sitting there like 3 jackets on, trying to code with our fingers freezing. But we got our product done. We launched the product. We started scaling the business. We started growing the organization, and then we just kept growing. I mean, honestly, I know a lot of startups, and I'm sure we'll have some conversations later this afternoon. They pivot or they change business models, or whatever the case is. I think with FiscalNote, what's really interesting is that we've never pivoted from the very beginning. So the business that we were working on here, Plug and Play, 6 years ago, is the same exact business that we still do today. The company has continued to grow. If you go to the next slide, you'll sort of see, this is maybe like 5 years ago, 4 years ago. I think this is right around when Rebecca joined, and then you can sort of see the next slide here as well. This is, I think, about 2 years ago in our DC office, and as we just continue to grow and scale the business. And so we recently actually started making a series of investments in different parts of the world. We have our headquarters in Belgium, London. We have a rising operational office in India. We just opened up our office in Buenos Aires. And so we're essentially making a lot of these different investments to try and figure out how to globalize legal information for multiple different jurisdictions around the world. So one thing I would mention, and a lot of people ask me, sort of when you first get started with your startup, what is the most important thing? And after doing this for kind of 6-7 years, I'm constantly surprised by how it fundamentally comes down to this one thing, which is that hiring is everything. And I even at our company stage today, we're not a big company, we're not a small company, we're sort of mid-size. I would say that I still think about this every single day about how you make sure that you continue to hire the best people in your organization at every single level. So if you go to the next slide, you can sort of see that this is the first cohort of people, about the first 20 employees in the business. And we were very, very, very picky about the people that we hired. I would say that as a startup CEO, in the first 3 years or so, I spent about 75% of my time hiring, recruiting, hiring, just trying to figure out who the best people were to bring into the organization. And if you go to the next slide, you'll see that there's this quote that I actually have in my office, and I tell this to our managers or our executives every single time they come in, that I don't care what your strategy is, right? Your strategy is your strategy, and it'll probably change. You'll probably have to shift it. Budgets change, markets change, customer expectations change, all that stuff changes. What is not going to change is the culture of your organization and the people that you have on your team. And you need to be able to drag your team through any type of obstacle. And so one of the things that I'm very, very adamant about in our company is culture. Culture is so, so important. What I would say is that even before we wrote a business plan, even before I wrote a P&L or an income statement, we actually wrote down our company values. And I said this to our co-founders, we're going to spend the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years of our lives building a company. So we should build a company that we want to work at, right? This is a company that we're proud to put our names on the door and say that we built that company. And so these are the values that we came out with in our company, and I want to spend maybe just a minute or two on each of these, a couple of these. And so I think that high-performing teams is something that we think a lot about in our organization. And even to this day, when we think about employee management, right? How do you actually measure the performance of your organization? I think about sort of 2 contexts. The first is competency. So can they do the job? Right? That's obvious, right? Can you build the product? Can you design the thing? Can you do the sale? Can you do the marketing? That's obvious. But just as important are these values, right? So for us, things like leveling up, right? So you need to actually put a constant pressure on having professional development. You need to make sure that you're focusing on design, focus on the tiniest details to figure out how to actually continue to make sure that you're delivering for the customer, delivering for the user. Having a bias for actions, especially in a startup, 20, 30, 40 people, when you don't have any direction, you need to make sure that your people have the self-intuition and the initiative to be able to take things on, to tackle new projects, bust through walls, and try and figure out all these different obstacles. People need to have a sense of ownership, right? They need to be aligned and transparent with each other. So even to this day, when we get to 600,000 plus whatever employees, every single month, I force all of our senior leaders, including myself, all of our SVPs, all of our chief whatever officers, to sit in front of the company transparently like this and say to all of our employees, all hands, give me any question you have. It doesn't matter what the question is. You can ask me, Tim, why did you spend X on this amount this last month? Or Tim, why did we go invest in this product? Tim, why did we open this office? And we will very transparently, to this day, answer every single question that employees have. And so we try to make sure that we are consistently aligned in that respect. And of course, the last two I think are the most important from my perspective, which are that you need to think like an owner. Everybody is an owner in business, and so you need to create that collective sense of ownership and accountability so the entire company is moving together. And the last thing is to support the family, right? So startups are hard, they're extremely difficult. I have a lot of stories I could probably tell for hours and hours and hours, which I won't, but startups are very hard. And you need to make sure that as a founder, as an entrepreneur, that you're creating that common sense of community and family for people to continue to thrive together. So, as a startup CEO that's sort of gone through multiple different stages, certainly there's a lot of things to learn about pricing and marketing and business development and operations and all these different things. But fundamentally, when I think about it, it just comes down to the people. And I think it's a very human-centric approach to building a company. But this is again what I tell all of our managers every single day. Markets will change, businesses will change. We'll merge this division, we'll sell off this business, we'll acquire this thing, we'll enter new markets, we'll receive from different markets. But fundamentally, what does not change are the people within your organization, the culture that you develop. And so, if I can leave you with one thing about sort of all of our successes and failures as a company, is that we only got here basically because of the people that we have in our organization, and because we've been able to build a family-like environment for us to continue to succeed. So, with that, I want to thank you all for listening, and I'll be around for the rest of the day. So, hopefully, I can continue to provide some very small advice on the ways that we learn here. Thank you.